Kevin, you were talking about turnovers after the game in Syracuse. Have you identified specific places, areas on the floor, things that guys are doing where you can say, if we stay out of this situation or we don't do this, then we're going to turn the ball over less?
No. Again, it's a wide array of situations. It's not, it's not against. So we turned it over 18 times against their zone. They pressed us a few times. We never turned it over, but we turned it over against their zone. So now they lead the league in steals, so it's not like other people aren't turning it over as well. But no, I just think it's inexperience. It's carelessness. In some cases, I tell our team that the turnovers are usually a result of carelessness or selfishness, and neither one of those are good. So, but in our case, it's a lot more careless than it is selfish. And careless can be is a little bit of a bad word, because sometimes it's just not knowing or not understanding, hey, this is not a good spot to get myself into. Or we take one dribble and pick it up when it's kind of a cardinal sin. You don't do that unless you have somebody to pass it to. So I think it's just needed growth in the game and experience of playing against really high level competition.
Kevin, you've been someone over the course of your career who's been noted for his offensive mind, his basketball mind. I mean, you go anywhere, you hear the coaches. Buzz Williams called you an offensive savant. But this year...
Sure doesn't look like it, does it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting to.
I wonder if he thought that after we threw up that 45 spot the other night.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. How challenging has this been for you to the offense is not coming together, and you've really had to switch things after Luther? And do you think this is probably the hardest challenge of your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's the hardest challenge because I'm trying to do maybe what John Calipari tries to do year in and year out, but I don't have 3 or 4 first-round draft choices after their freshman year, and it's just a situation. I mean, it's not our players' fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the situation that we're in, and I think that you see signs. I think our fans can see, our coaches can certainly see signs that Marcus is going to be a very good player. Signs that Shamil could be a very good player, Terrell could be a good player. I mean, what Parker did the other night at Syracuse is pretty remarkable. And now it's a matter of them growing and getting the experience and the physicality and strength and the things that are necessary in order to be able to compete consistently in this league. But yeah, we're challenged to score. There's no question. We go through droughts. Those are well documented, and yet it's hard for me because I do pride myself on giving our team good opportunities to score, putting them in good positions, and I continually ask myself, am I doing, am I hitting the right buttons? Am I putting guys in the right spots? So yeah, that's been a challenge, and unfortunately, it's not one that I've completely solved yet.
Who would you credit to that offensive mind? Who you've learned from?
I don't know. I don't want to give anybody the blame. It's not credit. I mean, like I said, we just scored 45. It's more the blame than it is the credit.
Over your career.
I think that from an early age in coaching, I started understanding that sometimes the best offense and the best offensive design was to take advantage of what the defense was taught to do. So if you get the defense in a position to get them to do what they're taught to do, and then you can take advantage of them for it, that was, to me, always the best way to run offense, because you want to get the defense out of position, which that's another great thing. If you can get them out of position through penetration or through post feeds or whatever the case might be. So I would say kind of those two things. What can you do to get the defense out of position? What can you do to take advantage of the position they're supposed to be in? And and then I watched, a lot of coaches, guys that I thought were really intuitive coaches, and I would watch and try to learn and take from what I would see and what I would gather from some of that, and so I don't know. It's just I asked Vince Gill one time if there was an unlimited supply of songs that he could write in his head, and he said yes. He said, now they might not all be good songs, but I could write a song right now. And I mean, coaches can draw up plays, and maybe I've got an endless supply of ideas and plays in my head. They're not all good, but it's just kind of wiring, I think. I think some people are wired to the game in a defense. They see it in a defensive lens, and some people see it in an offensive lens. I guess I've just always seen it from an offensive standpoint, maybe because I couldn't guard anybody. So maybe that's why.
Going into this season, Kevin, knowing the situation that you had with 7 freshmen, 9 first-time Division I guys, was there anyone who you reached out to as far as guidance or maybe insight into this kind of a situation? And as the season's gone on, is that something that you've done, reached out to anyone to?
Not really. I've had young teams, never one this young, but I've had young teams, and I think I have an inherent understanding of what young teams need. They don't need somebody in their face and on their butt all the time. They need to be coached hard at the proper times, and they need to be encouraged the rest of the time. And that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to be very encouraging with them, very patient with them. Patience is not my strong suit. But rationally, going into a season, okay, I am going to have to exhibit a tremendous amount of patience, and I've been fine at that. There are some nights that I'm a little better than others, or maybe a little worse than others, but I don't think it's complicated on what you need to do, as long as you have the patience to do it, and that's what I pray for and what I need. I just need to be patient, and these guys are trying their butts off, and believe me, they're the last ones that want to go through a 7-minute scoring drought. Okay, I mean, so they're trying to do what we ask, and sometimes they do it well, and we still won't score. But as I've said from the very beginning, they've been extremely coachable, and despite the losing, that's made them a fun group to be with and to work with.
Kevin, how are they handling the adversity?
I think okay. I've told them that losing can never be okay. You can't ever become okay with losing, and I think they buy that. I think that comes very instinctive to most of them. So, one of the most difficult things as a coach is to continually create an expectation to win when you're losing. That's one of the most difficult things that I know of in coaching. But in terms of their attitudes, in terms of their spirit, we just had a very good practice, and so I think that they most days they've been really good.
Kevin, how do you approach playing Duke or any team so close together, 10 days apart or whatever? Can you carry some things over?
After you just got beat by 30 by them? You look at it as an opportunity for growth. You look at it as an opportunity for, okay, we played them 10 days ago or whatever it was, and we thought we had 10 or 12 minutes in the game where we competed pretty well. And the rest of the game, we were outplayed, outcoached, out everything, and so you hope that you can go into this game and make some adjustments to maybe counter some of the things that happened to you in the first game. But it's just an opportunity. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to get better. And so what they did will certainly be fresh to us. What we did will be fresh to them. But we'll have to be, a lot better. I thought they were really, really good. And I think they've been playing really well. They've played a really good game against us, and they've played some really good games since. So.
Can I
What's that?
interrupt you? What measures can you take to help Marcus get out of foul trouble or improve? Because it's kind of like almost like the guards are driving at him.
Yeah, he just has to be he has to be more aware and more intelligent and more focused, just in terms of the plays that he tries to make defensively. And he did not have a good defensive game, I didn't think, at Syracuse. And some of it had a little bit to do with the fouls, but some of it didn't. And Marcus doesn't have blazing speed and quickness, so he has to be really smart and really in tune to what his job is and how he's going to do it on certain nights to compensate if the guy he's guarding the quickest guys in this league. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Duvall or Frank Howard or, I mean, you can go down the list in this league of terrific point guards. He's got a hard job every night, and so he's just got to grow and as he gets more experience, get better at defending his position.
With some of these struggles that he has had and that Shamil's had through these 6 conference games here, I mean, is it a situation where, for you, from how you see it, that given how they did during non-conference play and how well they did, where there maybe with that step up in competition, maybe it's sometimes trying to do too much?
Yeah, I think that's the tendency of young players anyway, is when struggles hit, they, what they did in high school was they just stuck their head down and started dribbling and tried to go get a basket or get fouled. And what happens in this league is those guys get swallowed up by 6'10", 6'11" guys inside that are more athletic than them and waiting on them. So some of it's an experience thing. Some of it is an adjustment to a level of play that they've never experienced. And, sometimes I think quite naively they think, oh, well, I played against him in AAU, and I played against him in AAU. Yeah, but you didn't play against all 5 of them in AAU at the same time. Each one of those guys had a guy that probably wasn't that good on their team in AAU. Yeah. And now that doesn't exist anymore. Everybody that you play against was the best guy on their AAU team. So I think some of it is a maturity process, a growth process. And then some of it is just trusting your teammates and trusting the system of play that if you execute it, it will work. And that's another issue with young guys, is they don't trust sometimes, and because it's not easy anymore, and it's not going to be easy.
Based on your experience, Kevin, how long does it take for that lesson to, I guess on average, eventually sort of settle in for these guys that, some of the stuff that I may be trying to do, I can't really do that anymore. I have to play more with myself.
I think it depends on the guy, and see, it's where it's devastating for us not to have a guy like Ryan who would demonstrate to them on a daily basis without ever saying it, or on a gamely basis, here's how you do it without ever saying it, because Ryan's a guy that plays within himself. And so they would see a constant example that they could look to and draw upon and draw confidence in, and we don't have that. And so I thought that was the thing that was kind of exciting about the second half against West Virginia, was we started feeling each other a little bit, and okay, Ryan started making plays, and then other guys started making plays, and all of a sudden we generated this confidence and this collectiveness that we need, and then when we lost Ryan, then obviously we lost a lot of that, and we're still floundering a little bit, but and it's not our players' fault. They just don't have upper class examples of this is the way it's done. So they're out there trying to make their own mistakes and figure it out. So it depends on the player. And you know, Marcus's turnovers have been pretty high, but he has a tremendous amount of ball handling responsibility on our team, and so you can't fault him because he's got the ball so much and has to do a lot of our creating.
Have you talked to these guys at all about walking into Cameron Indoor on a Saturday night while Duke's ranked where they are, and what the experience is going to be like?
No, no. We just tried to get better in practice today, and we'll talk about some of that tomorrow a little bit more. But I think they have a pretty good idea of what the environment's like, and you know, it's obviously one of the great places in college basketball, and so I'm sure from that standpoint they look forward to it, but we haven't addressed that. Probably don't really need to, because they're pretty aware.
Kevin, is it maybe dangerous is the wrong word, but counterproductive to keep mentioning Ryan's loss? Maybe this team uses his loss as a crutch.
No,
we'd be pretty good if Ryan were here.
No, I'm not saying we would be. I'm not saying that we would be any better than 0-6 or whatever it is if Ryan were here. I'm just saying that in terms of our players' development, that would be. He was a great guy for them to be able to watch. I'm not saying that our record would be one game different. I don't have any way of knowing that. And so it's not a thing. If Ryan were here, we would be fine. I mean, that we're going to have some struggles if Ryan was here or not, probably. Okay, I mean, that's my very educated guess. So no, I'm not putting a crutch out there for them. I'm only mentioning that because most freshmen have upperclassmen that they can watch and learn from, and this group doesn't really. And so he was the one guy with experience that they would have been able to look to and draw some confidence from, and an idea of how to do things, and I thought that was coming together a little bit before he got hurt. But no, I'm not. We could have the same exact record as we have right now if he were playing. I don't have any